Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode on the Phil Hodges Experience. I'm your host, Phil Hodges. Today we're going to be checking out a video, which I guess is titled, "It Should Not Happen in the USA." Hawley furiously accuses Majorca of allowing children slavery. And I guess the big quote is, "It should not happen in the USA." This, from my understanding, is going to be, or what's happening to the children, is a direct consequence of the Biden administration and how they are trying to deal with the border crisis that their own policies have created. I am particularly passionate about protecting children, and I am not for the sexualization and exploitation of children in any way, shape, or form. Be it slave labor or the sexualization of them. So we're going to find out what they know, and I guess the women here, what it looks like, are going to be they're the witnesses or the ones testifying to the atrocities, I think. I don't think they're going to be positive things, but to the atrocities that apparently are happening to the children. So we'll see what they say, and I know some information, so I'll throw that in there maybe about halfway through. And with that, we'll just jump right in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glad we're having this hearing. And thank you to all of the witnesses. Thank you for being here. I want to visit with you in just a second, but I just want to reiterate something that I heard the chairman say that I agree with, which is that there really ought to be government witnesses sitting there. And I tell you what I'm tired of. I've had Secretary Mayorkas sit in front of me in a different committee, the Homeland Security Committee, where I asked him at length about the outrage of 250,000 migrant children, unaccompanied, crossing the border in the last 2 years, and tens of thousands of them being sold into slavery. Let's not mince words. They've been sold into slavery. When kids are being put into factories, forced to work overnight, forced to work in terrible conditions. They're not getting paid. They're not going to school. Sometimes they're not getting fed. That's slavery. And what I heard from Secretary Mayorkas, don't take my word for it. You go look at the record, read the transcript. What he told me was, oh, it's not my problem. We don't have anything to do with it. Not my problem. Now we have a new report from HHS where they say it's not their problem. Amazing how this works. Nobody's responsible. These kids are literally being sold as slaves in the United States of America in the year 2023, and nobody's responsible. They don't want to come and testify to this committee. You bet they don't. They don't want to be put under oath. They don't want to answer any questions. They don't want cameras here. They don't want to take any responsibility. Well, I tell you, it's somebody's fault. It's not the kids' fault. Thank God for the New York Times, phrase I never thought would come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, thank the Lord that the New York Times did these series of reports, because otherwise we'd still be fed the lies from this administration that everything is fine and dandy. We know just where the kids are. It's all great. They're all fine. No, it's not. Is it fine that people like Carolina Yuck, who's 15 years old, I apologize to her if I mispronounced her name, she's one of the folks, one of the young women that the New York Times caught up with. What is she doing? Midnight in Grand Rapids, Michigan. A conveyor belt carrying bags of Cheerios past a cluster of young workers. Carolina, every 10 seconds, has to stuff a sealed plastic bag of cereal into a passing yellow carton. It's dangerous work. Fast-moving pulleys and gears that had torn off fingers and ripped open a woman's scalp. The factory was full of underage workers like Carolina who'd crossed the southern border by themselves, vulnerable, now spending late nights bent over hazardous machinery in violation of child labor laws. Carolina says, sometimes I get tired and feel sick. Her stomach often hurt. She was unsure if that was because of the lack of sleep, the stress from the incessant roar of the machines, or the worries she had for herself and her family in Guatemala.
At least she was fed. Notice that one? They didn't bring up food on that one, so at least she was getting fed. Not okay. That's not good enough. But since he mentioned earlier that some weren't getting fed, the one example he decided to focus on was somebody who apparently was getting fed. Because her stomach hurt because of the noise and stuff like that, maybe. But this is the kind of thing that I was talking about earlier where Mayorkas is totally at fault. He needs to be fired and put into jail. And this is happening here in the United States. For years now, if not longer, for sure brought to light in the last couple of years because of the lockdowns and the development of social media. What the Biden administration is allowing to happen at the border reminds me of this quote. I say it all the time, but it reminds me of this. All evil needs to succeed is for good men to stand by and do nothing. And I don't even think Biden and his administration are good men. At best, they're just average people that have fallen upwards into power, have failed upwards into power, and they believe they're untouchable. Because this is essentially the first time it's happened in world history, something of this magnitude, of this scale, at this, with all the things that are making it unique that didn't happen in other places of history. So we're definitely learning how to deal with this, like as a nation as a whole and stuff. But no, this is absolutely ridiculous. And an adults should already be in jail over the atrocities that they have allowed to happen. Those in power who have oversight on these things. Some of them need to be in jail already. And that's one of the downsides of our very efficient, slow, but efficient justice system. I just realized his face when I paused it. It was kind of dorky. But it's slow and steady, but once something gets once something gets put like as an amendment or a constitution, it'll take it years to get there. Wars might even be fought over it. But once that gets enshrined, it's going to take a lot to change that. So, yeah, let's see what else Biden is doing to the children.
This is totally, utterly, completely unacceptable. And I am sick unto death of this administration coming before this Congress and saying, it's not our fault. We have nothing to do with it. We don't know where they are. The kids are fine. Somebody will do it. Somebody will get around to it. Ridiculous. Let's look at some of the things that we've learned about what's going on over at HHS that Secretary Becerra is doing. Here's some quotes from employees at HHS. At least 5 Health and Human Services staff members said that they were pushed out after raising concerns about child safety. This is all from the New York Times, by the way. Mr. Becerra told the Office of Refugee Resettlement Director that if she could not increase the number of discharges of children, he'd find somebody who would. Next, 20% of kids have to be released every week or you get dinged. It's a conveyor belt of children being forced through the system. And what's the priority of HHS? Just get them out as fast as we can. They go to factories. They go to slave labor. No. I've written to the FBI and asked the FBI, where are the 80,000 plus children this administration's lost? They don't know. I've said it's your responsibility to go get them. It's direct violation of child labor laws. They're not doing anything. Nobody's doing anything. It's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. And the fact that the administration won't come and sit there and answer questions to this committee is absurd. And it is nothing more than cowardice. They don't want to answer questions. They don't want to be responsible. They don't want to take responsibility for this. So let the record reflect that this administration has let tens of thousands of children be sold into slavery, and they are doing nothing about it. And I hope, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad you said that we would be holding additional hearings. We need to have additional hearings. There need to be administration witnesses there, and we need to figure out what in the world is going on and who's to be held accountable for this. Because I tell you what's not an acceptable answer. It's not acceptable to say, it's not my problem. We wish the kids the best. The kids are in danger. The kids are in slavery. The kids are being exploited. And it should not happen in the United States of America. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator.
Yeah. Once again, he did an excellent job. He didn't really ask them any of the questions in this one. I think he basically just used his time to rant. It was a justified rant, and it made a lot of sense. I thought we were going to get some of the witness testimonies, which, if you keep up the politics like I do, you don't really need their testimony because, you know, we've seen it. I've seen evidence on evidence on evidence. There's some sort of disconnect, though, between the evidence and people receiving their just punishment for when things went wrong. As far as we can tell, when things went wrong on purpose with malicious intent. It's becoming very hard these days to say to just call everybody stupid and to attribute stupidity before malicious intent. With the amount of evidence and stuff and things like this, somebody's clearly doing something on purpose and turning a blind eye. They're letting evil succeed, and I hope they do get to the bottom of this. So, if you like this kind of content, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, recommend another video you want me to react to. And it doesn't have to be about politics. It can be about anything. It's a brand new channel. Here's a quote that I like. I made it up, kind of. If you shoot for the sky, you'll always hit it. But if you shoot for the stars, you might hit the moon. So, you might find a category of something that I've never seen before and might enjoy seeing it and maybe continuations of it, depending on what it is. So, leave a comment. I'd appreciate it. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up. And just like that, this Phil will see you in the future.